at least.
Oh.
By the way, do you have any favorite conferences? You attended a lot of them, right? Which one are your favorites to attend in recent years?
Of course, the one you present, right? So,
Good answer.
Good answer. Top notch.
But you've been to Nordic Data Science and Machine Learning Summit. You've been to Data Animation Summit, right? What else?
the other one, like in London, I think. I'm so bad with names. And also...
any academic conferences, or have you...
Yes and no. I was in the R community, so I went to R conference, so Toulouse. And
in Toulouse?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
I would say it's really different focus and different topic. So I would say innovation or Nordic Summit is more focused on business value generation and see from the big picture how you actually integrate the tech or machine learning into the business to make it evolution. But for our conference, I would say people more focus on which technique will be more accurate for what purpose and do this research. Both are nice, but it's just a different direction.
Yeah. I guess it depends on the interest you have for attending it. But if you take like the Nordic Data Science and Machine Learning Summit or Innovation Summit, what of all the talks you have listened to, what makes you think that a certain talk is a good one or a bad one? Is it something that really stands out, for you to say, I really love this talk?
I would say I love if the talk will stand out for me, either I hate it so much or I love it so much.
Oh, we have to do that. We have to make people hate us on stage or something.
So it's more about inspiration and different perspective. And also, as I mentioned, I think a lot of speakers also think about this, what they want to express, what they want to share the experience about, why they are sort of, I can feel when they talk, they are intention. If they just want to show off, I can feel. Then
like
it's no
speech on stage or something.
But if they actually share something and passionate about something,
it's not only about the content; it's also about the delivery. You would say.
Yes.
And what you're talking about here is that this person has a deep meaning that he wants to really, whatever it is. I think the world looks like this, or I think this is really good, and I want you to understand this.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm talking about all this, but he's trying to convey a deeper meaning. Is that something?
Yes, I can give two examples. One is Closer, Arrow Clubmaster.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I don't know why he have this so good presentation, and in the late time, he was my boss. He told me he wanted to change the word.
Change the word for
better.
Change the world.
World. Yeah, change the word
okay.
for better.
Yeah, awesome.
So I think that is the behind intention. The other one is Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
He is sort of leadership, really
why?
good.
Start with why.
Yes. So I learned a lot from him. And he do have the passion to inspire people. So when he speak, then everything go natural and you got effect.
Yeah, you get affected.
I mean, for me, it's also, listening to someone without them having a passion is, even if the content is awesome, it can really destroy the whole talk if you just stand and I'm going to do this. And I mean, it's really horrible sometimes when you hear someone that has an awesome content and they can't deliver the speech, right?
Yeah.
You get frustrated.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think this is really important, but sometimes even if you have passion, but you have a bad day, you're tired or something like that, and unfortunately it really affects. So I mean, like we talk about this, or I talk about this with Goran. Where's the energy? We use that word a lot. So okay, where's the energy, man? And it's all about this. So the passion, the energy, the enthusiasm, the anger, whatever emotion you need to convey, you need to have that with you. And then sometimes, I think we all have it. We have it, but we can't. The whole energy is not there in order to express the full emotion.
I think that the worst example and the best example in some way could be Steve Jobs. He has an awesome delivery of the speech. I hate the content because I don't like Apple.
I like Apple. We can talk about this and bigger about this.
Yeah, I'm an Apple.
But you have an Apple phone?
I know.
You have an Apple phone now, Anders.
I know. Can you please shut up? No, Apple do great products, so it's just my subjective view of them. But sometimes, he plays around with statistics in a way that is not very scientific, and that really makes my heart ache in some way. Have you listened or seen any of Steve Jobs' talks?
I think that is must be if you want to improve your speech.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot. I agree with you, but he's a more playful for the statistic. Try to use some trick let people memory things.
It's part of he's using it purely part of marketing to put the message there. Not very scientific, maybe.
Yeah, he's storytelling.
Yeah, he's storytelling. He doesn't really care about the scientific part. He's storytelling. I think it works for his objective, by the way.
I remember I went to some kind of course or some kind of lecture about how to deliver a speech, and they spoke about the best speakers of all time. And I was very surprised to hear what he said was the best speaker of all time. So have you heard about this? Or
I don't know this particular one, but Dale Carnegie and all them. That's always been a classic.
Apparently, Charlie Chaplin.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Charlie Chaplin from the days? The black and white movies, and he's miming and he's not saying anything.
Yeah, the silence movie.
Yeah, but apparently he's one of the best in the world in delivering a speech. And there is a speech called whatever it was. The Great Dictator, I think. Could you search for it? Yeah. Great Dictator, I think.
Yeah, it's part of it. This is exactly from a movie, I think. Is it?
No, I think it's a proper speech that he gives.
Is there?
Yeah.
So it is a speech that he's delivering in the movie, actually. If it's this one.
Is it in a movie? I don't. Yeah, maybe. I'm sure. But that you really learn. In the beginning, it's so quiet, it's very calm, and then it's just rising and rising and rising, and in the end, it's such a strong delivery. It's like crazy. So it's about Hitler and whatnot. But yeah, if you really want to see an amazing speech, I would recommend someone to look this up.
Yeah. The other topic maybe related to this is about voice coach, also from YouTube. Yeah. When you change the peak, your style, your tone, it can sound totally different.
Have you ever used a voice coach? Have you had the opportunity to, in some reason, do you know a voice coach? Because I do. I can give you a story on that.
Do you have someone?
I only use YouTube.
You use YouTube?
Yeah, please.
No, but I remember, this is a long, long time ago, I was the moderator for the sales conference. So the sales conference is a very nice conference. It still goes. And, at this point in time, I was the moderator for the sales conference, and we were at, what's the conference, the nice venue out next to Skansen. I'm brain dead. Circus, of course. So we were at Circus, and I was the moderator. And then we were super professional, really professional show. And then we know a friend in the network, Per Furmo. Shout out to Per Furmo. So he's a professional voice coach, among other things. And we were in the office, and I had my speech, and like the conference in the opening keynote, or the opening 10 minutes to sort of set the scene for the conference. And we worked with all these different things, up and down, slow, pauses. I mean, you can think of it all, right? So how you really use your voice to go faster, to go slower, to go higher, to go lower, and to pause. And in order to emphasize, and then what word to emphasize in this sentence? You're breaking it down then to words. So it's tricky. My style is very much, I like to have key points and then speak from my heart. But if you want to go down to this level, you actually need to have a manuscript.
Yeah. And when it comes to coach, I haven't taken a voice coach, but actually taken a singing coach.
Oh, no. So what kind of song?
That was Magnus Carlsson, Gamla stan.
Yeah.
No, but actually, I forced myself to go up on karaoke stage a couple of times for a specific reason, which is to actually improve my, speaker performance.
Oh, okay, nice.
I actually think singing is a great way to improve your way you speak.
Cool. You have to go to China to try the karaoke.
Yeah, but we had karaoke in Sweden and Stockholm as well.
It's far behind.
Okay. No. You are offended. Celine, before you go deeper down that rabbit hole.
This was a challenge, by the way.
Yeah, this is a challenge, Celine. Because Anders is... you are a karaoke fan.
I am, but
you're an outspoken karaoke fan.
I am, but I sing horribly still.
Yeah, that's
I tried the singing coach, but it didn't help. So I still sing horribly. So.
And there are different courses from Udemy I highly recommend.
Really?
Actually bought them.
You bought them?
You bought them?
Yeah. I want to learn how to sing jazz. And
I'm looking forward to the after work now. We have to try out your singing skills.
We will try this for sure.
Awesome. Very welcome here. Celine Xu, lead data scientist at H&M.
Thank you.
And a colleague in going to a lot of conferences and whatnot that we've seen over the years. A speaker at conferences and what. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. It's my honor.
So should we start with just, who is Celine Xu? How would you describe yourself?
So could I just say I was just an love immigrant. So for the marriage, I came to Sweden. Now I want to be the bridge between data and decision making.
Right.
And hope in future, and I can be the most fashion knowledge people in machine learning and most knowledge of machine learning people in fashion.
That's awesome.
But the way you said that, the most fashion knowledgeable in machine learning and the most machine learning knowledgeable in fashion.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful statement.
We should have a T-shirt for that as well.
Yeah. Actually, that is a good T-shirt. And now, if we're going to do that T-shirt, we need Celine to design it. Because it needs to be very fashionable.
Do you design clothes as well? Or?
For my doll when I was 7.
For your doll, yeah.
But cool. But speaking a bit from the beginning, can you speak a bit about how your career got started, perhaps education-wise, or how you like to prefer?
In my recent 8 years in Sweden, I focused on machine learning and advanced analytics. And I was in consulting firm and then was in industry. My focus areas was recommendation engine, time series prediction, and the trend analytics.
All right. What kind of recommender engines were you using? I'm going a bit techy here directly.
Item-based collaborative filtering add a lot of business rule.
Yeah. And added with business rules on top of that?
Yeah, a lot.
And if you were to just describe, what is item-based collaborative filtering?
Okay, its challenge in a simple word is if you buy product A, and according to the other person buy product A, the other person probably more intend to buy product B, and I give the prediction you probably also will buy product B.
Very good. I love it. So perfect description, I think. And I guess it contrasts to content-based, that you only look at what kind of similar clothes or trousers. So instead of looking at the content, you look at what other similar people to you have bought and then recommend that. And so, yeah. Cool stuff. Any specific techniques? Sorry, I love the recommender engine topic.
What do you mean by specific technique?
Some technique for the collaborative filtering, like ALS stuff, or did you use some?
You mean the packages?
No, some algorithm that you use to actually build the collaborative filtering recommender system?
Yeah, I got you. So unfortunately, the machine I was using is quite basic. So it's compute intense. So we actually use the statistic, and also we tried a different option actually, but it turned out the most basic one have the good performance.
But that's a good thing, right? When the simple one actually works the best.
Yeah, I think it's due to we don't have that much data because we were in fashion. It's not in banking, so I think that still works. But I doubt if have bigger.
More data than.
Yeah. However, I know a lot of people use two more sort of trick on top of it. One is you cluster either customer or cluster the product at the beginning to shrink the data set, but that one is quite biased. We tried. The second one is neural network. You actually do mapping. It's also depend on how you choose the feature to mapping. It's also biased. So I don't know the right or wrong way, but we try to. In the end, we not only have the sort of evaluation for accuracy, because I believe for people, if you want recommendation, you don't want people recommend you something you already know. You want some familiarity, but some novelty. So we try to balance both, and actually simple model naturally did that way. So I don't know why. So
yeah, if it's too smart, you don't get the novelty.
Yeah, I would say. And also it's really restrict the item you recommend because this normally have this tendency to recommend already popular product. So those long tail product which you actually more have the urge to recommend, you lost them.
Yeah. And what year was this approximately when you worked with recommender systems?
Sorry.
Which year was this?
2 years ago.
Okay.
3 years, I would say. So different.
Was this for H&M or was it for?
For Axel Johnson.
Axel Johnson.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And perhaps you can just describe what does Axel Johnson do for people that don't know it.
Okay. Axel Johnson is a really great group held by family. We have 7 different groups, including Allianz, Kicks, Martin Severa, Dustin, and we also have our investment branch called Novex.
Novex, yeah. So it's a super huge organization, if you call it that, right?
And they really believe in sustainability. I was really surprised.
Right.
But sorry for backing up the tape a little bit, because before you were starting your data scientist career, and you know what you've really been growing and where we know you, you were in private equity before, but that was before Sweden, right?
Yeah, before Sweden. I was in London and Hong Kong.
Can't we go there? Because I want to later on today talk about the whole thing of bridging business and tech and data science. So a little bit about the private equity part.
Yes, I would say in London, I got my first sort of internship after my MBA to this private equity firm. We only do development fund and mezzanine fund, and we focus on real estate industry.
So what is private equity? What do you do? I mean, if you're not in this part of the industry, how would you explain it to me who is not, part of this?
So put simple word, we're salespeople. We sell the concept to investment
opportunity.
Opportunity to investor, and we sell the product to the.
So the product is essentially you find a great investment for someone to invest in.
I would say it's more about matching.
Matching.
Yes, because it's always about risk and rewarding and the preference. And you need to understand what the investor want and what risk level they can tolerance. At the same time, know the market, who could be the candidate.
So it's matchmaking between someone who wants money and someone who has money to invest.
It's like Tinder for investors.
Tinder's, private equity is Tinder for money.
Yes. They also have some kind of a limitation because you cannot, they have some entry level sort of gate which is if you don't have enough equity, you cannot join. No. And for each deal, you have limited seat for.
Yeah. So private equity like this, it's you need to be at a certain level in terms of how much you have to play, to be part of the game, on the one hand side, And then on the other side, how many seats are there at the table of a certain investment?
Yes.
Yeah. So that becomes very interesting, because then it's about matchmaking. Is it a large community, you would say, if you talk about London, or is it
London, I would say, is beside US is the biggest
private equity
community, as I know.
And Hong Kong compared to London?
Much smaller, I would say, and have different dimension. For Asia funds, we more looking to high growth, more tech fund. So in London, we are looking to the real estates.
Okay.
So it's totally different direction.
Yeah, and the type of investment, was it mainly now in London real estate oriented?
No, in
funds?
my company is
in your company. Yeah,
but
Okay.
it's really depend on which company or which industry your company
focuses on.
Yes.
Clear.
And you mentioned you took an MBA, and that was in London, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But you also have some other degrees, don't you?
Yes, I have one marketing master degree, one international trading master degree, and bachelor degree in mathematics.
And mathematics as well. Yeah.
So super cool, like math, and then marketing, and then MBA, and then to top it off, going towards data science.
Yeah.
Programming, yeah?
Yes.
And actually, we know, because you told us before about programming was not your favorite at school, but
No.
In what areas you're doing C and C++? Where were you doing that? In what part of your university? College even,
And
right?
then it's university, so
Bachelor,
it's
your bachelor
master
math,
bachelor. Yeah.
Bachelor math. You had C and C++.
Yes,
and that was your least favorite.
Yeah.
At that point,
I can't understand why the for loop you need to actually add an initiator first. Why is so stupid? Why I still need to see you need to exit in some point.
I think that's a good reflection. It's the people that designed the language that was stupid, and we are right.
Sorry, I don't want to offend anyone.
If we want to go there, I don't think we're going to have time, but we can go down the rabbit hole. What is their favorite languages and what is a beautiful language? We've had that. People.
French.
No, Python.
Good answer.
Good answer. Kill that one.
Cool. So you worked at Axel Johnson for some time, and then you got in touch with H&M in somehow, right? Or how did that happen?
I would say thanks to Headhunter.
Okay.
And also I would say I was attracted by the vision from RT and Arrow. And also not
Did
only...
you meet Arrow before joining, or?
Videoly, yes. We're in Corona time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would say two specific things. One is Arrow mentioned. He know H&M is a traditional company, but he want to install engineering culture in H&M.
Right.
And I feel like it's really brave, and not so many people will think in that way.
And perhaps we need to let people know that H&M is a really old company as well, right? Can you give some? How would you describe what H&M is?
It's really big company, have
really
the
big.
roots for global-wise, and we're really focused on to bring the fashion back to normal people, and we really like the young people.
Right. Do you have any numbers? How big it is? Remember?
Oh, you test my memory. Sorry, I couldn't see, and I don't want to see wrong things.
I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of employees and thousands of stores across the world, right? So
Yes.
it's a really big...
And we have 75 different countries for the market.
But I can be the idiot and say the wrong things here, because I heard some statistics around H&M that, okay, you can define H&M who is employed by H&M directly, then it's a company with about 100,000. But if you look at the value chain from the factory to the consumer that is involved, is about 1 million.
Yes.
So who is affected by the success of, or get their money from H&M sales is about 1 million people.
Yeah.
That is a huge number, by the way.
It's a big company.
But so we are talking about sub-suppliers of factories of clothing, of course, and stuff like this.
Not only the money.
No,
I would say people's everyday life affected by.
Yeah. Now, what I was trying to highlight, how this company, which has, I think it's a fantastic company, but actually you need to, in this particular case, you really need to understand the value chain.
Yeah, but you're talking about indirect employee.
Yeah, exactly like this.
Cool. So you met them and was headhunted there, and you had some meetings with Errol, etc. What was it that attracted you to H&M then?
I would say some vision, and also the other thing is about leadership. I would say I still remember when Errol talking to me, and he was asking, "What do you want to do?" It's like, is that relevant? So normally when I was in the interview, people were more care or more focused on what I can deliver and what I already have, instead of what I can develop into. So I would say that part I really value and really
What did you answer to the question? What did
I
you
said,
answer? Yeah.
I hate code.
You did right. You did right.
I said, and
to Errol.
yes, and I because the first one, the headhunt, I didn't plan to leave Accenture at the beginning, so I was just try to be frank with.
You were cool. You were just being super cool. I love it.
And Errol saying like he see the other side of my potential, and even without coding, there are also a lot of sort of impact I can make from data scientist.
But now park this question now, because I want to explore what is a data scientist and all the facets from the business to the coder and all in between. So let's park this, because I think you're nailing something here, that there is more than code to data science.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or do you want to take that now?
Should we take it now? Oh, we could go there now.
Yeah, go there.
Okay, go down a rabbit hole. I like it. Yeah. So now for the producer, we have a rabbit hole for 10 minutes. It's called, what is the facets of data science, or what do we need to succeed with data science? So let me frame it. Sorry for the joke. So I think it's an important topic. How do we understand what goes into being great at data science in terms of from business acumen to coding? And how do you see the different facets, meaning potentially that we need to have different flavors of people working together to really be the unicorn data scientist?
Yeah.
Do you see the topic?
Yes.
Please.
I see the common thing, and I also say it depends. It really depends on job description from different company. And the common thing is, I remember there's someone says data scientist is built to learn, and the data engineer is learn to build. I think it's sort of summary really right.
Okay, so say slowly. Build
to learn, which means the natural of the data scientist is exploration. You don't really know the road, and maybe there are no right wrong answer, but you keep trying to explore and try to find the right way, or try to find the most logic understanding about the data. And I think that is the most all the data scientists doing.
And go from the other angle now.
Data engineer.
Learn to build. Data engineer.
Data engineer is really effective for execute if they have the blueprint. And for example, if you have the right model, the data engineer can make it more efficient in JavaScript and understand dependency, the tag, that.
And if we do a nuance now, if we say data engineer on one data scientist, are we referring to a machine learning engineer in a different way, or is that more towards the data engineering side?
My description is not 100 accurate, but in H&M we did have different engineer. We have machine learning engineer, we have DevOps engineer, we have data engineer, and normally when we talk about data engineer, is more about the database, which means they do the extract, transformation, and inject the data. Also, to understand which system have more query, sort of how to make the query more effectively in certain system. That is the data engineer. And also they need to understand a little bit infrastructure, how to support it. And the machine learning engineer is more about, you have to understand the hyperparameter in the certain model and how to tuning them.
Feature engineering.
Yes, and about feature engineering. Yes.
And then data scientists.
Yeah, and data scientists and data analysts, and I would say data scientist is only small position within the whole project.
And we have had this talk forever, right? And this is the misconception. Data science, get yourself a data scientist. You don't even know the description you're asking for, from data engineer to data scientist, and they will fix everything for you. No. This is exploration or understanding, sense-making role. And this is fundamentally building very good tech, but very sophisticated feature engineering is one type of tuning versus data. It's complete database.
Yes, I totally agree. And sometimes it depends on how you define the feature engineering. For example, whether or not you change the data source and the assumption belong to feature engineering. Sometimes I feel like those are more efficient to improve the result of the machine, so the learning. Sorry.
Maybe to close this rabbit hole to explore one last topic. So when you express yourself, when you see yourself, your identity as a data scientist, what are the core things that you want to be great at and that you want to excel at compared to the whole picture?
Yes. I would say, if I say that, maybe not politically correctly, I think it's the passion to solve the problem. So problem solving is the first. And then you should understand the math and the statistic. And then you need to understand programming, have a certain skill of make things happen. And then you need to have the communication skills to express what you want to express and convince people to follow what you suggest. Not but least, and sometimes you also need a little like visualization skills to show in the right way.
And sorry, can I take it? Yeah, because I'm very curious. Is it usually like your work ends up in an insight that you need to present and visualize, or is it sometimes that your work ends up as a starting point for something that then an engineer takes over to put in production? Is it both, or are you more on the insight place, or are you sometimes in the exploratory phases of something that the machine learning engineer takes over?
I don't see any conflict between two scenarios. So I think
I was curious. Are you working with both scenarios? That's one my question.
I think everyone with both. First, when you explore the models, you have to explain why you choose A, not B, and you need to present the insights. And then the end product is actually the model you need to prepare for the engineer to scale up. So.
Good. So what we are now talking about is the life cycle of the problem solving, to take the idea, to validate it, to understand it, and then you come to the topic, how do we productionize this? How do we operationalize this? Is that fair? Good. Then I get it.
If you were to set up a team that were to deliver a new recommender system for something, and you need to have a set of competences and roles in that team, how would you set that team up?
I would say it must be cross-function if I can. And also I want the real salesperson in my team, and also the so-called industry expertise actually understand the product category. I suppose we recommend a physical product, right?
A physical product?
Instead of service, or
I was thinking recommender system, like proper recommender system that is
we'll recommend online. Something really tangible instead of like experience.
I'm a recommender system for trousers. If you want to build a service like that, how would you build a team that can deliver that kind of service?
So we do need someone actually in the shop to understand the customer. We need to have someone understand how we craft the or categorize different trousers. At the same time, we need someone have really keen like problem solving intention to actually translate some like business problem into data problem. For example, if you choose a pure engineer or machine learning engineer to dealing with this problem. Maybe they want to tuning the machine to most accurate recommendation, which means they only recommend replenish product, which means it's not fun. But if you actually, from sales perspective, what they think is how we can associate, how can I sell more to you? So, and they try to have their intention to understand what you really care and what kind of culture you like and blah, blah, blah. And if you take all kind of into consideration, then I would say that could be better. At the same time, if I want to have the team, I do need to have a really good engineer and architect in the team to understand, because this recommendation system should be edge computing or whatever, and how the response, the speed of response. So, yeah, it's hard.
But I'm interpreting your answer, Celine, that you're actually talking about the ideal picture as a fairly autonomous team in one area.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying, right?
Yes.
I need a domain expert. I need an understanding of the opportunity of the business thinking, the category, really fashion, and how we sell at H&M. And then you need the people who can translate the problem, and then you need the people who can build the model. But then you're actually thinking about all the way down to develop and maintain and operate the recommender feature going into the larger, I guess, website or something like that. So an autonomous feature team around this recommendation.
That's true.
That's how you see it.
Yeah, and you actually mentioned more. For example, I'm only in proof of concept stage, so I didn't really bring the part who actually build the bigger platform, who actually identify reusable component, who actually doing A/B testing, and then how
should you
to
have that? I mean,
versioning.
Because it's an open question. Because you can say, "Oh, we want to have this team is only doing that," and then they hand over to this team. Or do you think the vision should be more autonomous?
I would say if myself, I would say I will not think too long ago. I think that too long. In future, that's agile, because if I don't even have a small product, I don't really have at that stage to scale up. So I should think about that in my back mind, but I don't prioritize them. But if I'm actually a company have some already productionized mature product, then the second part should be the most focused, because you can make scale up more quickly, or scale up and scale out.
Yeah. But then it's interesting that, okay, we start now and we start here. But as this matures, we come from validation to deployment to scaling topic, and then the team needs to grow to the autonomous team maybe.
Yes, and it's evolving. Yeah. For example, maybe at the beginning you have 3 data scientists and 1 or 2 data engineer, but in the future, in the mature production size, I should say, as I understand, at least 1 data scientist need to have 2 or 3 data engineer to, including machine learning engineer, to interact with. So it will be more engineering focused. That's why when RT was mentioning this, I feel like it's so wise, because I didn't think from that perspective at the beginning.
I'm eager to go
no,
further.
You
here,
need to go now, because I don't even bite my tongue. Anders, no, you go nuts. You go nuts. Because it's a great topic. Come on.
I mean, a question can be how you build a product like this. And I think you mentioned that there is like some kind of life cycle where you start from a certain point and you change the way the roles are, composed in a team in some way. How would you prefer, if I give 2 scenarios, which one would you prefer of these? So one scenario is you have a set of data engineers. They do model the problem a number of times, and they try to find a good working prototype, perhaps, to make that work. And they come up with some solution, and they later try to productionize it and put it in production. Another scenario would be that you just have a single data scientist, and they put it in production very quickly, and it's horrible. It doesn't work. But you then iterate lots of times, and finally you end up at some point. Which one of these two do you think is preferred?
I would say both are too extreme.
Yeah.
Something between, but I understand your point is it's definitely an iteration.
Yeah.
And you definitely need to allow people to make mistake. It's like our child. I would say watch my son growing up. It's a great help to let me understand how machine learning. So I will not tell my son says you have. So I want to tell my son you shouldn't do A, you shouldn't do B, but he will never listening until the time they put B and they find out he got hurt.
Exactly. Yeah.
The same for the machine. If you not let machine try different angle, they don't know where to look.
So yeah. So would that mean that? Oh, I'm
Iteration.
I'm trying to avoid saying leading questions here.
No, don't Anders. I don't.
But cool. Okay, so there could be a point in trying to put something in production as soon as possible, or at least get some kind of feedback quickly. Because I think you said in the beginning as well, you shouldn't just measure accuracy of a recommender system, right?
Yes.
And wouldn't that be what happens if you just have this kind of big cycle in the beginning with data scientists and they can't really measure the performance of it, or?
Yeah, that's why we need the business expert. So the
But
first,
can that help?
yes. For example, we developed some product at the beginning. We don't have the A/B testing platform. The things we can do, the first test is ask expert whether or not it makes sense. The second one is we can choose someone within the company we send out to try out as they are the customer. And the third one is actually we scale out and we choose certain sampling, right, A/B testing, and do. So asking expert is also one of the A/B testing, as I understand.
Good point. I agree. What is the role of the expert? Is that the data scientist, or what's the name of the role of the expert in such a scenario?
You mean the sales fashion
Let her
expert?
please answer.
It depends on what problem you want to solve, right? So if that is a logistic problem, then you probably need to answer the warehouse manager. If this is the marketing problem, you probably need to ask a marketing expert. So
Yeah, cool. Should we end the topic and go back perhaps to
back a little bit to exploring broader H&M.
I mean, we mentioned that you started at H&M and you met Arol, etc., and you got started there. What was your initial kind of jobs? What was the initial thing you got started working with?
So I was placed. So I would say, like, if you treat H&M is so big. So if we chop it into 4 different sections along the value chain, the first one is a design, and then is sourcing and production, and then customer fulfillment, and then customer side, which all sell. I'm in the second part, which is sourcing and production.
What was the name?
Sourcing and production. Sourcing and the production. Yeah. One thing is H&M doesn't have their own manufacturer, which is really smart, light asset. However, we have a lot of supplier to help us to make the product. Nice. So that department, we call it sourcing and production.
So can you just explain what sourcing does more exactly?
So, for example, like demand planning, for example, we will have to assume in what material or in what product category next season or next 2 seasons, how much we need to produce, and what kind of material we will use, and where to buy those material, and which manufacturer we need to choose to produce that material. At the same time, how we actually check all the quality of the material, and then how to like control the quality of the whole.
Awesome. Can you do that in a data-driven way somehow, or do you need to manually inspect everything, or how do you actually do that?
In short, business secret, but I would say it's currently combined. I think no company can see everything is purely data-driven, but we do use a lot of data, and we try to leverage the data we have to make more easier or accurate decision. And I believe there are two dimensions here. Some decision, maybe they're not right and wrong. It's just complicated. And for that one, you should always have the human to have the final call.
Right.
However,
human in the loop all the time. Right?
Yes, but however, if you calculate the complexity of the decision, if the decision can be really simple to make, for example, simple comparison, but just have really big calculation, then those things it should be belong to machine. I don't even call it machine learning. It should be the automation.
Yeah. Oh, right.
So you're talking here about the importance to really boil down to all the complexity. What is the machine good at, and what is the human good at, and how do we maximize the leverage and value from the two different? How do we make them coexist, or how do we make them 1 + 1 is 3?
Yes, because the original idea to make machine is people are lazy. They don't want to do this repetitively work. So, yeah.
And could you give us an example within this area where you right now intuitively think this is more of a machine problem and this is more of a human type problem? You mentioned all the different questions.
Yeah.
And if you break them down, where is the machine problem and where is the man problem?
So, for example, if we talk about purchasing, if we need to evaluate different supplier according to region, price, material, loyalty, and quality perspective, when we know the single rule for 2 or 3 different supplier, only need to compare one thing, like price, like single comparison, then let machine do. However, even an expert, sometimes they can give different weight between loyalty, quality, region. So this kind of things maybe need to have a little bit like more thinking.
Awesome. So are you still working at the same department, or have you?
Yeah. I'm still working in the same department.
Yeah, awesome.
And a little bit, how is data science organized within this section or this?
Good question.
Yeah.
We are experiencing some reorg, and we have our independent data scientist organization, and 4 lead data scientists in different domain. We call like
domains within sourcing and
domain. Sourcing and production is one domain. Customer fulfillment is one domain, and then customer is one domain, and one more domain is research. So we also combine with the future sort of research is not so close to production. And the 4 of this lead data science report to the head of data scientist of the group, which is Bjorn, has Bei, and then we have different type of product. One of the product is operation by AI Foundation, which is close in data scientist. And the other one is we send the data scientist to the business tech production team to help them to build one part of their product. So some of the product is just one single algorithm within one machine, and we don't even have the interface, but it's actually running backend. But some of our product is end to end. So
I'm trying to summarize. Did I understand it? So within the data science team, like core offerings, sometimes you have from a data science perspective, an end-to-end offering. Yeah. In one use case. Yeah. So you own a use case one end to end.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there is a system somewhere who needs an algorithm embedded, something like this. Yeah. And here that's another part of your offering to help with that embedded algorithm in a larger system.
Yeah. I love your summary. Yes.
Thank
yes.
you.
And this is only one part. We also have the mission to educate the whole organization become more data-driven. At the same time, we also think recruiting people is good, but maybe reskill people also should be a better option. So we also try to educate or reskilling people.
So this is your mission then is a couple of facets.
Yes. So the first part when we talk about product is just execution, and then we'll talk about education.
What about change? Are you part of the change or someone else driving the change, or education is part of the change?
I would say education is part of change, and we actually drive the change. As we say is not only from H&M, but for X Johnson, I learned from my boss is you only spend 30% of time or energy to build the product, but 70% of the energy you spend is about user adoption.
Yeah,
only when the end user start to use the thing you built and change their way of working.
Henrik, you have to stop putting words in her mouth.
No, I don't.
Right?
I just want to make sure that.
Contain yourself, man.
I'm not putting words in her mouth.
Yes, you are all.
No. I'm showing her that I'm with her all the way, and I know.
Good.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
No.
But I am, by the way.
Still love you, Henrik. It's good. Cool. Okay, so organization is grouped in that way. But you also have like engineering teams that need to build things. Can you mention a bit, how data scientists are grouped together with engineers and these kind of how the teams are structured, if you may? If
that is the end-to-end product team, we always have a product owner, data analyst, machine learning engineer, and data engineer and data scientist. They work together.
Okay.
And from data scientist organization now, we try to lift up for each product. We need to have a lead data scientist, or say the data scientist competence lead, to actually help the tech direction for this product in future.
But that lead data scientist is not part of the team, or
it's part of team.
Okay.
He or she need to be hands-on. He or she need to be in that team for at least a half year to understand the product. Instead of we hire a tech lead to lead different product, we feel like the one actually build the product should know the product better. So if we can give he or she a little bit more coach or discuss, they could be better person to lead the product in the different direction. So,
and that team stays with more or less the same people as it starts to move into production as well, or how does it evolve over time? So to speak?
Yes and no. If this already built for an end-to-end product, yes. But we also have exploration team. We also have a research team. For those projects, then we actually have the exploration, then the handover, and then we move to so-called reorganize and production team. Normally, we hire new people to.
Can you mention the research team a bit more? How is that structured? What do they do? And
we have quite nice. We have both research team and exploration team. It's a little bit different. So research team, we have this called internship program with KTH with Örebro University to actually get the college student in the end of their study to have 3 months internship within H&M. And it depends on, at that moment, what business actually want to explore, what direction we actually have new. For example, now we're really into this image recognition. So one of the team really, we even have a product called H&M to VEC.
Oh, really? That's cool.
So it's continue developing. And we try to use that in future to improve our recommendation for our recommendation.
And you said image to VEC, right? And for people that don't know, there is this very famous word to VEC that's been around since 2014. But image to VEC, if you were to explore or just explain that a bit more, how does it work? If you could.
In the simple word is if you if you treat the image as 3-dimensional or 4-dimensional thing, and you try to smash it into linear.
Single vector, right?
Single vector, yes. I think this is a lousy example.
No, okay.
Yeah, so basically it's dimension reduction. Or put this way, if everyone know BCG matrix.
Which one?
BCG matrix. Like consulting firm, they always use a 2-dimension matrix quadrant to describe things.
Right.
And this is the simple way for word to vec. It's just that they have 2 dimensions and vec only have 1 dimension.
So it's like a feature embedding or something. It's like a representation in numbers that represents the image.
Yes.
And you can use that for what later, or how?
Different things. The first thing is you can actually doing the text output, which is if you see an image, you can identify what things actually inside, and more more deeply, maybe you can actually identify the different cut, different silhouette, different color, different material, and output a string. This is only the first step. And then based on the string you output, you actually can classify the product into different one. And more advanced one is if you have multiple item recognition and you know the combination of that work well, and then you can give the recommendation. Because currently most of the recommendation is based on so-called the point of sales data, which is you buy together. But sometimes you buy together, you're not dressed up together. Yeah, right. So if you actually can identify the combination within the picture, then it's have much better chance to more professional or fashionable.
More relevant. I mean, like this was meant to work together. This is the outfit for the New Year's Eve. Okay, so we have the black dress, we have the...
We also need to identify the background. Yes, good point.
But I guess this is mainly like product images, so they're really clean and perfect pictures of products, or is it also other images?
Yeah, we also have the model images, because the fashion is a big industry and we need to look at each other. At the same time, we have this fashion blogger, they try out. At the same time, from my perspective, I feel like if you feature fashion, a product category is only 1 dimension. And 2 more dimension. One is actually your body shape. There are different serial, but I'm fan of this 5 body shape serial. So, which means certain style of clothes will composite you better. For example, like me, really small, girlish, not really curving. So I couldn't wear this really long, flowish dress. It will drag me down like I'm wearing my mom's dress or something. So this is a body shape, is my understanding. This is 2nd dimension. The 3rd dimension is about individual, I would say either you see its persona or personality or self-expression, self-image, or community engagement. It's about how you want to express yourself. So that is more wide sort of dimension. You actually can use like film, music, some region to actually identify some. We're still in the exploration to understand how we can reduce the dimension, but still make it more accurate and actionable to predict. And we assume for a person, the easiest way to predict is this community engagement, because it normally lasts for 3 or 5 years, not change.
So this is way deeper than just the clothing attire, is because fashion then goes into society and culture, and it goes into what is trending at a certain time. So if you really want to understand not only the past, but to predict the future, which is almost impossible, you need to look at other things than...
Yeah.
The prediction is not so easy here.
No. I would say prediction for me is normally you use the historical data to predict something, not change. But for the things always evolving, always change, and random things, maybe it's not a good approach to predict.
No,
but let's not move there yet, because this is another topic.
This is a huge topic.
Yes. Perhaps we can just move back to image to vec, and if you are allowed, could you describe a bit more how it works? How do you design it?
Maybe not yet.
Okay.
In that sense. So
yeah. Okay, I understand. Cool. So that was the research team, and they are looking into these kind of things, right?
Yep.
And it is mainly internship people, or do we have full-time employees as well?
We have full-time guide. So we have a lead data scientist there to guide, so not only from like topic perspective, but also from the code quality, way of working, like unit testing or setup, everything. So we quite formal. So.
And the exploration team, what do they do?
Exploration team is sort of because currently the data scientist resource within our organization is so limited. So if the new requests happen, probably they don't really have the capacity to do that. So for existing product or for higher prioritized exploration, but more close to solving a business problem, then this go to the exploration team. Or we also have a program called Data Translate program.
Data Translate.
Or Business Translate program. So which is reskill program, which we really want our product owner really close to understand not only business, but the data itself. So we try to, and also closer their communication gap between the business talk and engineering talk or data scientist talk.
This is the classical moment, catch-22 that we speak about. You know, we often speak about this, that we have the business people that understand the domain and are experts in that, but they don't understand the tech. And then you have the tech experts, and they are experts in that, but they don't understand the business. So if just the tech people drive something, they will go in a certain direction. Yep. If just the people or business people drive in a certain direction, they will go, but don't really know what the possibilities are with the tech. So you have this kind of catch-22 in some way. And it sounds like you're trying to...
22. Nice name.
Yeah, but then by actually trying to make the business owners understand the data, as you said, you can potentially avoid this kind of problem.
But this business to data analytics translation blocker is... I said it at some point in Vattenfall. Someone asked me up in very high up, so okay, Henrik, what should we work on? And it took me on the spot, and that's the main thing I could think about. Is like, well, this all starts with business to data translation. That in order to, and how, we can talk about many ways to do that. Education is key, of course. T-shaped people is key, but it starts with that problem, right? Because before that, the demand will not happen, or exactly what Anders said. So I think this is one of the key topics for, at least for the companies growing up from an analog proud history, if they want to go in this direction. If you want to become an engineering company like we're talking about,
or tech company. Yeah, tech company is a better word.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough journey, and I think a lot of companies want to take the journey to go from a traditional company to become a digital and data-driven company, right? How is it going so far, you would say, for H&M?
I would say H&M quite wise. We going not so fast, but steady. That's what I think. If compared to H&M and X Johnson evolve much faster. But in that way, because they have small different groups, so they are not need to integrate with each other. But within the H&M, we need to think big. So for the future, how different systems connect to each other, because there are a lot of dependency, and we try to find a reusable component from existing product to make things happen more quickly.
Sounds great. Should we move to the fashion topic, perhaps?
I think so. There are many angles here. Maybe I can set it up.
Yeah, please.
So, I mean, like, and this is, of course, on your input, Celine, really wise. So how do we predict fashion, or can we predict fashion, or should we even look at data science to predict fashion, or what is your view on this?
for myself, I feel like fashion is art. It's not predictable, and it's really depend on how you define the fashion. If you define the fashion as a trends, then trends can be predicted. But what I think is maybe what we can do better is actually look at the Vogue magazine, look at all different designer, and try to identify the single component with their newest design and translate directly back to our production. And then we will have enough time to have this production time and have the customer like purchasing curve to catch up. Otherwise, I feel like currently most say fashion prediction is more about they look at the Instagram blogger, they look at Facebook, they look what already trending. So we're talking about if we have longer manufacturing time, we cannot just look what already trending.
That's too late.
Yeah, it's too late.
And so, but what are you saying now is that you're trying to find proxies in terms of designers in Vogue or something like that, or you know that they have a lot of.
This is how fashion work.
Yeah.
So I feel like on my limited understanding, fashion is only from a small part of people. They drive it, and they make it trends. And why is fashion? Because not everyone get it. And everyone want it. So it become the trends, it become design. So it's not predictable. Just to feel like you have the other way to get the same result. You don't need to predict.
I get it. I think I get it.
But I'm not a fashion guy, or I don't use that much brand clothes, etc. So I find these kind of trends as they happen a bit disturbing, because it in some way lures people to buy new clothes just because some small set of people, as you say, define what the trend or the fashion should be. Do you see a danger with that, or?
Yeah. We if from H&M perspective, we try to make things more sustainable, not only from material perspective, also the whole recycle economy perspective. But I would argue, like you present one type of person, the other type of person, like me, I have really low self-esteem. So the easiest way to make me confident is buy something I think my role model is wearing, and it makes me feel like I'm empowered.
So fashion actually is something that helps you in some way.
It's empowering you.
Yes, okay. I would say yes.
But maybe let's stay on this topic. But maybe as a sidetrack on the same topic of how to predict trends and how data science and fashion really belongs together, or how we should look at it. If we explore your personal background, I mean, like you said you developed a passion for fashion. I mean, like long before you entered into, so you came into a dream job in a way, yeah?
Yeah, no, yes.
So what's the background with fashion for you? Like how did you explore that from a small girl in China or whatever all the way up?
So I would say I was a little bit nerdy in my early age, and before university, I don't even know what the fashion magazine is, and there was a guy actually teach me how to put the sun cream on, and how should I cut my hair. It's feel really annoying. So at that moment, I start to learn more.
So do you remember that you found some sort of someone sort of showed you for the first time at some point the fashion magazine, and you sort of got sucked into it and wanted to learn more, I guess.
Yes. And I would say it's maybe a little bit rebellion. I'm from a family all of my parents are professor, so they don't allow me to touch any makeup and any kind of dress up. So at that moment, I feel like I can be different. Maybe that was at one point.
But because you said that before, so for you, fashion is quite much deeper because it's about self-expression. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah. I feel like at least my Chinese education for me make my self-esteem quite low. I constantly try to find approval from the crowd. So I sort of urgently really want to have something I can depend on, which it cannot be myself. So the easily is if someone give me credit from appearance, yeah, that's perfect.
But I don't buy that, because I think it maybe started like that. But now I think when you're a woman of your professional stature, I think it evolves that you are now knowledgeable about fashion. So now you're using it as an identity marker. Who am I? Even more. Would you agree with that?
I agree. And the other dimension is at the beginning I try to make other people like me.
Okay.
But now the fashion for me is I make myself like me more. So at the beginning I show to the other one. Now I just try to show who I want to be.
Exactly. So before you can use fashion to try to fit in.
Yeah.
Now we can use fashion to express who I want to be, who my true identity is.
Yeah. You're much better than me to elaborate on what I think.
No, I'm the sales guy. I'm putting words in people's mouth. That's what I do for a living.
Well, that's great. Okay, so it has its purpose with fashion, in short, and that's great. And certainly a lot of people is super passionate about it, for sure. My girlfriend included, unfortunately. But, okay, so what do you think about the possibility of being data-driven when it comes to fashion? Is it possible, or do you have to be manual in being able to understand, or can you in some way try to automate?
Yeah, it's a different dimension I described. First, if you can't cut fashion with supply, so all the demand forecasting, or this forecasting is possible. So demand, warehouse optimization, and move. Route optimization, so those things can. And when we talk about fashion, we still can entangle the trendy things and stable things. For example, I feel like the third dimension is your community engagement and your preference. Maybe from day one, you already feel like you're a little bit classy person, even though we have different definition of the classic in 1920, 1930, 1990, but you still belong to classy, so this group.
It's the same personality that you keep in some way.
Yes, we can predict this
mega trend, or did this pass?
Your personality, but we can combine what is trendy at that moment and mapping up to you. So it's still something you can predict and something you cannot.
No, but I think you're entangling it. So that if you try to do it, I'm going to predict fashion point blank, really impossible. But if you understand the proxies, the indicators, if you understand it on a deeper level, you can then you can have predictors that holistically you can better understand the world, and with human touch maybe make sense of it all.
Yeah, make human touch. Yes, follow this trends. I even think we shouldn't tell people we'll predict trends. We should position ourselves as we are professional for fashion. So no matter which style you choose, we can make you look best in that step. Nice. So in your way, we are not really intimidate as we know you better. In our way, we can sell you more things, which you can try different things.
So that may sound very boring here and speak from perhaps data science point of view, but that means you can segment people and predict things from each segment.
Yeah, you can describe that, but from a good purpose. For example, I would say in my early age, I don't know what I want, even though I sense which group I belong to. These things can help people actually, I don't know, could say better understand themselves. So like you put the words in my mouth. So I feel like it's a guidance. It's helping.
Yeah. But still, if you still segment people and you know a certain style or personality that you have, and these kind of soft attributes, as you have called it before, how could you potentially automate the prediction of a fashion for that personality? Can you automatically extract things from Vogue magazine? Can you look at the influencers? Can you look at can you do it?
So I think there was two questions. The last one is hopefully in the future you can actually use video, use picture, use whatever to actually can identify single component type as fashion in the runway shoe, and then our designer can try to use those abstract element, combine, experiment, and put into new product, and then put on the market.
So
it's more about identification and get this time gap. It's like speed trading.
Speed? What speed?
How to say that? When you do the trading.
Yeah. High frequency trading?
High frequency trading, thank you.
Yes.
When you do the trading, actually it's because of the information. It's not about the prediction. So high frequency trading have this time gap.
Yeah.
And I would say the fashion is also similar. And also something you don't really need to predict, you can ask. And as you said, we segment people, but people may belong to different segment.
Right.
That's why I said, if we position ourselves, not actually state which segment you actually belong to, actually say, depend on your body shape and which style you're choosing, maybe ABC you look best.
Yeah.
Then you actually can try segment A, try segment B, try segment C, but you still look best in that segment.
Do you think you can do the opposite and trying to have like the picture of a person and say, you are this segment because of the body shape, or something you ask the person, or can you predict the personality in that way?
I would say somehow, agree with you. Some body shape represent some kind of body shape. However, I didn't do the experiment, so I cannot say they are correlated. So for me, I still feel like personality and body shape probably is a different dimension.
but it's a little bit like a matrix, right? So you have these body shapes, and we have these personalities. So this combination, this personality and body shape, then you should really look at these clothes within this space.
Give you a not so appropriate example, two things. One is one blogger actually say like one personality, if we use feature attraction, we don't use personality, we use constellation, which for different, like you are Ariel, you are Scorpion.
Constellation.
So constellation. So,
astrology.
Vattuman.
So if some blogger actually have this sort of video says, if you want to be Ariel, you dress like this. If you want to be so the same person, same body shape. If you try different style, it's different. I still feel like style is not about a single item. It's about combination.
So if you were to combine a set of features like body shape, personality, let's say you did some kind of personality test or something, and a lot of other features, perhaps that could in some way identify or predict the style of the person? Right?
If you assume the person will not change.
But if the person were to change, then perhaps one of those features were to change, so then you could actually adapt to the person.
I think fundamentally in future or theoretically you can. Yeah. And everyone says human is predictable animal. So,
but maybe we can go here now as a little bit a new theme. Where do we think data and data science and fashion is going in the next 5-10 years? So where is the fashion industry going, and in what way will data and data science help contribute to that?
Oh my God. It's a really big question.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I'm not at the position to say that, but I do have some wishes.
Yes, let's be personal. What do you wish for? Let's frame it like that.
So I would say like the first things I want to say is it's if we're about fashion, maybe the machine learning or AI can contribute the most is about how to easy people the decision making or their job. For example, we know several things. For example, if you can make the designers job easier. For example, if the machine can recommend different combination for a certain feature for the style, and just let design to choose, and that is actually fast, sort of accelerate the design. At the same time, if the data can actually help the value chain predict more accurate how many items they need to produce to which location and in what size, then we actually can reduce the waste and improve. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Do you think even it could go, I mean, if you take like music or movies, think Spotify or Netflix, and they all personalize with recommender system or precision medicine, and you can have a personalized prescription and whatnot. Do you think there will be a time where we have personalized clothes being manufactured specifically for you or something?
We already have personalized clothes. Yes, that's called tailor. And it's always about the balance between cost and style. So more high-end, more handmade, they are tailored.
Yeah.
But it's not cost efficient.
Yeah, right.
So it's just about balance.
So maybe the question is, can we get to a point that we at the relevant price point and cost can almost pick and choose the whole thing we want to build, and then just in time produce it?
Hopefully, yeah, it's good thinking. Yeah, hopefully, and something already happened.
So you have your tailor H&M Taylor. Yeah, Mr. H.M. Taylor or Mrs. H.M. Taylor. You go in and you choose.
Fashion assistant or styler.
Styler. H.M. Taylor, your fashion styler. That's the brand.
Okay, cool.
Because I like that H.M. Taylor is like a classical Savile Row tailor, right? Yeah, H.M. Taylor, yeah. And then fashion styler.
Yeah.
And then you can pick and choose, your categories and all this. You use your personality, your body shape,
Yes.
blah, blah, blah. And then you get some recommendations, and I think, I want this.
Yeah.
But today I want it in bright orange. And you buy it.
Cool.
Just in time.
Yes.
1 week, 2 week delivery.
Yeah, sounds great.
That's cool, right?
Yeah, that's so cool. Yes.
Could that be done?
Yeah, I think so. Let's wish first.
We are wishing now. Yeah.
I already made the domain, so we're starting.
H.M. Taylor. I actually like that name. Savile Row. I think this is the trick, right? H&M is buying prime location. So when they start with this custom approach, they need to buy one of those. What do you call it? Like shops or like lighthouse shops. What do you call it?
Kiosks?
No, when you have your showroom, like a show, like whatever showroom
or drop zone or
So like a showroom on Savile Row in London, they have a small. You walk in and you have H.M. Taylor. It looks like a tailor, but you go in and you.
Sounds great.
That's a good marketing trick.
Yes.
We
need to hire you.
Maybe.
Sure. I like the fashion styler. If you look at I think that 90% of the people, they would like to have advice in how to dress themselves. It's the same thing like you going to a gym and you need to have a professional trainer to tell you how to gym.
Yeah, the same.
Right? Because everybody can go to the gym, but not everybody can make results in a very short term, in a long term.
Yes.
If you don't have a personal trainer. So everybody would like to have like a personal shopper, like the celebrity have, or a fashion styler in that. Even now, when you want to have like if you have a beard and etc., you go to a barber, right?
Yeah.
So they style you, they make it actually really good, because if you at home, you get this, nothing else like that. So if you look at, if we say like, if we say naively that 90% of the people would like to have help with fashion, then automated or AI-driven fashion styler is actually quite a good feature to have. It's also like Spotify. It's a recommendation engine based on your complexity, on your shape, size. Because if you put majority of the people, you will get quite a lot of data points that with my pale complexity, this is actually not a color for me. There is nothing, I think, okay, of course, GDPR will come in there and destroy everything. But I would not say no to that type of a product, because it's gonna help me. As for example, I want to start dressing myself a little bit more sporty, or a little bit more classy, or a little bit more. I have a little bit extra money now, so I want to go into high fashion. What is good for me?
But this service, IBM invented Watson. And now Wipro has, have you heard this one? This is a fun one. Wipro has Holmes. That's funny. It's almost like a steal, right? IBM Watson, Wipro, Holmes, and now we have H&M Taylor.
Yeah, nice. Yes, I think I made a mistake today.
Yes.
I should have patented that first and then speak out.
I thought she was going to say, like, I did a mistake today coming to this podcast.
Gordon has already patented that thing.
That's what
it's already done in EU, etc. and all of this other things.
HMTaylor.com. Good.
Awesome.
Maybe a new topic.
Yes.
Maybe moving broader, or I think there is so many
Actually,
topics.
I would like to finalize this. While you were talking, I was doing a little bit of research in the future of fashion, and fashion forecast is actually one of the trends in future of fashion, right? And especially I was focusing on how people will purchase and consume fashion in 10 years from now. So, but before I present that, what I found, I would like to ask a question. So if we look at, and we did this last week, and I think that is a funny one, right? So if we look at how fashion will look like in 10 years from now, just a question, like if we close our eyes and how this is going to look like. In the same time, how will customers actually consume and purchase clothes? That is my kid and your kid actually buying this. Will there be a physical store, or is it going to be online? Will they purchase through Facebook? Will they purchase through H&M store? Will H&M has... It doesn't have to be H&M now. It can be whatever. Let's call H&M Taylor. Let's call it now, because we started this. Will they be able to have personalized clothing? Will this will be delivered directly to their homes, or how would that look? Just if we take like a couple of minutes to make... And this is a question for all of us, because I think it's a very nice exercise.
Maybe my answer will not relevant, because it's more like sci-fi. So if you have a material that can directly change the shape, change the color, whatever, you only need that piece. And when you imagine, and it's just to become the shape they have, and you just have it, and it's sustainable and it's tailored, and how you get those image, you can have H&M Taylor to recommend you different combination.
I like that. Maybe not 10 years, maybe 20 years.
Imagine you don't even have to have, it's just a one piece, and everybody has Google glasses in the future, so how they perceive you is basically on what you chose that we project.
Like an avatar. So basically we all go around in white
metaverse.
Metaverse, exactly.
The metaverse. So we're bringing metaverse classes to the normal. So we only buy white jumpsuits, and then everybody wears their metaverse glasses and projects whatever style you want.
Yeah, that's also good, as long as that jumper wears comfort.
Yeah, I have another one, and I'm not sure where I'm going with this, because we have the whole sustainability trend, but I'm a little bit nerdy when it comes to fashion, but recently, and I think it's even more into shoes, but to some degree also into some clothing fashions. I'm getting into, I want to buy an icon, and I want to buy clothes that look cooler the longer I wear them. So if you take some
Silk.
type, no, if I take an example of shoes, I've been nerding down in Red Wing handcrafted boots from America. Okay, and when it comes to sneakers and boots, you can go on YouTube and you can go nuts. So I ask anyone to Google Red Wing boots.
Yep.
Okay, and the key idea here is like the boots gets cooler the trashier, the longer you have them, and they're really painful to buy. I mean, like they're sturdy, half craftsmanship, leather, and basically they look better the older they get. To me, that's a very sustainable. I mean, like it's because they're patina, the way they are sort of shaped into a part of you, and you put your scuff marks on the boots. That type of fashion, to me, or that type of, I'm not here to buy. This is a bad business idea, by the way, for H&M maybe, but I kind of like that whole sustainable. But actually, I find I'm starting to shop icons.
It's just a different business idea. For example, if we make things a whole ecosystem, for example, we will not charge anymore for, if we have that one piece of the clothes, then the H&M tailor will not sell clothes anymore. We sell the concept. Yeah. So it's still sustainable. So it depends on what you sell. Yeah. And back to your question, that shoes, whether or not there is one day the shoes actually are well off or never ever.
What do you mean?
Will the shoes someday well off?
Of course. But I mean, the difference is that for the cycle of the shoe is not 1 year. The cycle of the shoe is 10 years, and they look the best just before they die. So basically, it's a little bit like, okay, I'm starting to shop for icons.
Yes.
And I'm maybe even willing to pay more for something that will then last for 10 years. But I'm actually
passing over to your son.
Yeah, I mean, like it goes into other fashion, topics like watches, or you buy, different things that sort of the vintage.
Yeah,
that
vintage.
Actually there's and I think to some degree in fashion it exists, right? You can buy a handbag and it's like it appreciates in value, right?
Yes.
So what do you think about that trend? What because to me that a little bit close also to the whole sustainability discussion. To will we in 10 years be focused on buying new stuff every month, or do we want to buy icons?
Okay, this is also a big question, but I would say sometimes good wishes is not equal to reality.
No.
What I mean is, if you want to use that pair of shoes, you need to have that amount of money. The same thing, if you want to have a really sort of lasting garment, for example, like London tailor things, they always have some material folded in your sort of, in case you get bigger or get smaller, you can reshape it, still the same piece, but but it costs a lot. Yes.
So in reality, it's something that could be a trend that could happen, but it has a certain cost, a quite high cost to it, so it might not be a reality for the whole world.
Yes, for the whole world, yes. That's
it's also not purpose of the fashion, because you have, what is that, autumn-winter fashion, then it comes summer, spring-summer, and etc. So the fashion is actually going every 6 months almost. So if you want to wear shoes for 6 years, 7 years, I think that you're in a category by itself. With you
wearing my boots at the beach.
Exactly. So you're not fashionable anymore. You're just basically,
Okay.
But it's a really good question, and I would say it's constantly debate in the industry. And I think until now, no one have a really good answer to it.
No, go ahead.
No, you.
I think maybe we move on.
Should we do that?
Yeah,
okay,
we should.
Let me find another topic. Okay, so I'm not sure if you do a lot of recruitment yourself, or do you work with that? Okay. So speaking about that, if you were to recruit people, perhaps data scientists, do you have any special tricks, or what's your way of doing good recruitment?
Yeah, I would say it's... one thing I learned from X. Johnson is actually maybe the expertise is not most important thing. is the dynamic with the team. So you have to understand how this person will functional within this team. If you do need a nerd or expert, try best to test that capability. But sometimes you just need someone have this open mind, flexibility, and quick learner, and it's really depend on who you want to recruit. So I'm a little bit against to use universal standard to have this role. It's always about matching still. So the last interview should always be you meet with your manager, with your team, because for both sides, if this become a job, you work with them each other every day. You have 8 hours every day together. It's like you have to make yourself comfortable. And also from a player perspective, when people not get selected, stop to question it's your ability or capability. It's just not matching.
But can you speak just a bit about how the process of recruitment works?
In H&M,
yeah.
Yes. Normally, it's really depend on the seniority level. If that is like a little bit like junior level, you just applied. We have a specific system called Smart Recruit. Everything is on that because it's GDPR compliance, and we cannot accept the sort of CV by employee itself. And then after that...
Sorry, I didn't understand that. You can't accept the CV? What do you mean?
So for individual employee, you are not allowed to keep the candidate CV because it's not GDPR compliance. It's
if they send it in themselves? I mean,
we delete it.
Okay.
And we recommend them to go to the system. Smart Recruit.
Yeah.
And then we normally, now is a little bit depend. Actually, this is also like a regional different. The Asia Pacific higher and Sweden is still a little bit different. But the next step is will be a screening test. At the beginning, we use one system. Now we try to switch to HackRank.
Before you go there, so who reviews the CVs then? Or is that...
Yeah. CV review will be after the screening.
Oh, after the screening. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
please. Sorry. Please continue. So, okay, the screening, how does that work, the screening?
Screening, we have the benchmark. If you pass a certain level, you can get into the candidate for...
So it's a uniform test that you make in some way? Or
yeah, we have a question pool from HackerRank.
Yeah.
And from, as you mentioned, they have different perspectives. So from SQL perspective, from programming perspective, from statistic program, and also machine learning perspective. And there are certain percentage you need to get. And then for that part of people, and the next interview will be it's have domain knowledge HR person to talk to you. And then after that, we'll go to a technical test. It's normally a home test. You need to first solve a problem. At the same time, you need to present in the right way to convince.
Is that a programming problem, or what kind of problem can it be?
It depends. It depends on which team you go into. So some of team is about to predict the forecasting. Could be the forecasting.
Right.
Some team also could be the classification. So it's totally different. Yeah, and also sometimes we also use this. Recruitment also give us inspiration. At least I'm doing that. For example, if I have an emerging case for some natural language processing or recognition, or I want to abstract some information from complex structure from PDF, then I will make that as an some home test.
Yeah.
Yes, that one I would say is not about your hardcore test. It's more about how you approach a problem and how you look at the problem and how you devote yourself to solve this problem, because we had a lot of like some sort of interview have really senior people, and we find out they just follow the book. They're not really solve the problem, but they just follow the book and try A, B, C, and D. And if purely judged from code perspective, they are quite good, functionable code and everything standardized or whatever, but it's not solving the problem.
Right. So you have to understand the real problem, and that is more important how you actually approach it than
at least in H&M we really appreciate. And the other thing we really appreciate from H&M is teamwork. This is not a joke, because we had a really good candidate, have really good skill for data science or whatever, but he's really proud, and we just feel like he's not fit.
Proud as in egotistic or narcissistic in some way, or what?
That is a little bit extreme, but which means he or she try to criticize every suggestion from the other person, even though he says everything is right. But if you have this people in your team, how it works?
Yeah, it would be a bad attitude or culture in the team. Then you mean, or
sort of
creates a lot of friction.
Yeah, create a lot of friction. Yes.
So how do you assess that? How do you assess if a person is good for the team?
For example, there are different things. For example, like acceptance. You can give some suggestion to see how they react. If they are open-minded, maybe they will ask, why are you saying that? Or if someone really sort of resistant, they will definitely jump back and say, no, I'm thinking blah, 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 blah. So it's still a different way. And also we try to ask some question is, like, if in this situation, for example, if you develop a model, but your stakeholder doesn't really accept how you behave, so some kind of situation simulation type of question, and to see how they react.
I see. Cool. If someone is very interested in joining H&M and they want to know how to prepare, how would you advise them to prepare? Or behave or something?
Yeah, I would say first go to our website to see our value first. I feel like it's in my early life I did this cheating things to choose some company not fit my value, but in the end I feel really uncomfortable. So one thing is to see the website to understand the value, and the second, reach out to anyone you know work in the H&M to talk to understand how they're feeling, and then focus on the job description. Rephrase your CV, whatever, to that job description, and prepare your skill to whatever you are encountered to, and relax. If you fit, you fit. If you're not fit, there's something better for you.
Yeah. And you should say, I hate to code as well, right? When you come to the interview.
Yeah, I said that.
Would you recommend that to other people? Or?
Yes, if
it's true.
It's also to some extent. I would say people have different preference. I'm a social person. I like to engage with people, and my thought is not linear, it's jump. So in that way, for me, for coding is a little bit harder than those people have really sort of structured thinking and really can sit down silent programming. So I would say programming will be a skill in future everyone need. So I don't think this is a bad idea, but it's just a preference.
Awesome. Should we move a bit more philosophical, perhaps?
Yeah, there's a couple of topics on the way here, and it's semi-philosophical. It's more about philosophical around data science. How important is to have scientific method to be a data scientist?
It depends on how you define the scientific method.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's try that then. How do we define that?
Do you have a good way to do that, or what's your preferred way?
I would say if you're really problematic and also always think the final result, you could be a good problem-solving method could be really scientific way. If that is the definition, then I would say data scientists need those skills.
How would you define it, Anders? What is scientific method?
Yeah, there are so many ways to do it, and so many bad ways to do it as well. But I guess one way is to say that I think the easiest way is to say what is not scientific. And what is not scientific is very easy to define, I think. These kind of people that have very subjective views and anecdotal evidence and can't really judge from a proper way why a certain hypothesis should really be true or not. So that's easy to understand. That's not scientific. If you then think the opposite way, if you do have a proper way to motivate why a certain idea you have is true or not, and you can show that with experiments or with data or some kind of theorem, and in that way be objective about why something is true or not, what really knowledge is. Because science, in my view, in general, is about building knowledge. So the knowledge should be what's really true. And if you can find what's really true by having an objective viewpoint, then you have a scientific method, I would argue. And
in my layman's understanding, back to university almost to try to remember this, I mean, like it's one of the core quanta of a scientific method is that you put up an hypothesis and then you find ways to reject it, actually. Or accept or reject it.
Should be a falsifiable method as well. I mean, I hate these people that say all these kind of obviously true things. I want peace in the world or something, and of course everyone does. Or I want more sustainable. That's a bad example, perhaps, but it has to be something that's falsifiable.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, like falsifiable for me is like someone said to me, if you can't put not in front of it, it's not a strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to have good customer experience. Not, you can't, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so what I mean with that is then, because when you go down that path, it has a quite profound understanding for how business needs to change in the end. Because when we are working with data and AI, we are starting to basically, assuming now we think a scientific method is important. And some way we have a problem, and when we don't know so much about the problem, we put up an hypothesis, and then we try to prove it. And then we can iterate and make that sharper and sharper until we thinks this is good enough to put in production. Okay? That is, in a way now, if we build systems in this way, this is hypothesis-driven approach from the fundamentals that you don't really know. I mean, like if I compare this way of working compared to I have a very clear problem, I'm an engineer, and I'm going to build exactly that problem because it's clear. Then this one you can sort of plan, you can scope out. This one you can't. It's you can only take it to the one step, and then you need to prove the hypothesis, and then you need to sort of, do I persevere? Do I pivot? Do I abort?
Yeah, but I think you actually said a non-falsifiable statement. Is scientific method good?
Yeah.
Is it, or isn't it? Because of course it's good, right?
Yeah. No, not if I follow core business. They don't do it. Operate. I mean, corporate doesn't follow scientific method. They follow Hippo.
Yeah, not all. I don't think everyone does that. I know,
but if I take the extreme, right? If I take the extreme that we have built a company around our human intuition, and then we have, based on our human intuition, we have built things. I mean, like we have done trial and error. And here we're now coming in with data-driven approaches, which is sort of, sometimes we are rejecting what the going assumption or going dogma is. And this is hard, right? It's hard in terms of, I'm used to make decision-making based on my gut.
Yeah.
Okay? So I think there's a lot of topics here where I don't think scientific method is deeply ingrained in corporate business on a daily basis. Should it be? I mean, like the topic is, should it be?
Yeah. I mean, okay, let me give an anecdote from Spotify times, perhaps, and then we can switch the topic as well. But speaking about, relying on A/B tests, for example, you do a lot of A/B tests in H&M, of course, as well. And I remember a discussion with a product owner, and he had a lot of, domain expertise, and he's been working 10 years with that type of thing, and they changed some kind of feature, just some user interface kind of thing. And he was sure that this change would improve the user experience because of his 10 years of experience. And then they did the A/B test, and he couldn't show it. At least it was like no significant effect. It's the same performance, more or less. But he said, it's just because the data is wrong. I'm still right. The data is wrong. And then they rolled it out. And actually, it could be true because it's not easy to gather data properly. But that's like an example of potentially being non-scientific, I would argue. But that said, having a lot of experience is still very useful and important, and data can't show everything all the time. I think that's one of the differences between the terms data only versus data first. So data only means that you only make a decision based on the data without even trying to interpret why the data says something. And that's really dangerous as well, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
So you have to have a human component in it to try to understand what the data really means.
Yes.
Potentially it means something other than you think. And so that's what the data first. You should rely on data, but then add the human aspect to it to have both the human expertise combining and interpreting the data before you make a decision.
Or like Lydia said, I hate data first. I love data informed.
No, but I think she meant data only.
Yeah, data only.
Not data first. But anyway.
Yeah, but okay. So let me finish then the hook on this scientific method. Where if you look at the traditional industrial era, and we have been going in a certain way for many years, selling trucks, selling clothes, you can deal with supply and demand. Then you get into a mature era where you can plan things. Then you get into different types of disruptions, like we have black swan effects like Corona, or we have a disruption in terms of the whole business model tweaking and changing. And all of a sudden, when you truly innovate, when you truly go into new territory, new business models, you don't have the data to plan in the same way. My hypothesis is you need to be hypothesis driven. So the core fact is then if I look into a lot of the large corporates, we are starting to work with scientific method in data science, but in the way how the corporate structures look like, how is the budget cycle looks like, is still a plan-driven approach. And here we get now potentially a conflict between a steering model, which is supply and demand plan-driven, going into a disruptive, maybe a new business model where this doesn't apply anymore. If you're a startup, you know this. I don't have any data, so I can't really. I can try to go to the VC and tell them I have zero sales, and I'm going to now predict. So hypothesis driven becomes really tricky in the traditional company, because we need to then, how do we take that into our corporate structures and budgeting and steering?
Absolutely. There are two unlinked doubts. One is I have some reflection about scientific. One thing they say, what is science? What is science is when you still feel like it's true, it's not how to say that? You cannot prove it's not true still, then it's still the science. But you cannot guarantee someday it's will be proved not true. So this is one thing I want to say. I don't know why. And the other thing, go back to your hypothesis driven. Yes, this is like an investment.
Yes, exactly.
So only when the disruption time, you can create the real market leader, because there's higher risk. Mm-hmm. And when everything sort of planned and when everything, predictable, everything go to stable. And once it goes stable, then it's become like either it's really stable, which means it will not grow.
It's not high growth and high,
No.
so from a real, lean startup, you have passed the growth stage and you're in the mature stage, decline stage even.
Yes.
So when you're working in extreme growth stage or when you're disrupting, then the planning models becomes more hypothesis driven.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think this is sometimes a tricky point for a company that has been around for 100 years. Because the model has sort of over time matured to a mature stage, efficient type of budgeting or planning. And now, boop, we need to pivot to hypothesis driven.
Yes, that's why we so value the visionary people in our society, right?
Yeah, but sometimes great ideas, but you have a hard time to put that into the sort of corporate system.
Speaking about visionary people, some people like Elon Musk or Stephen Hawking are really afraid about AI. And they say that AI could be the biggest threat to humankind. What do you think about a statement like that? Would you agree with that, or what's your thoughts about that?
I'm agree. A lot of things, I would say it's like, how to say that? We want to stimulate change, but normally after something changed, we cannot control the direction. So that definitely, I think that is the future. And I don't even know whether or not human is a machine already. We don't know. Or someone actually built us in some way. And
you mean we're living in a simulation perhaps already?
Yeah, or our system is designed by something and they just want to do some test or something like that. So I definitely agree, because a lot of things, I don't know, I think there's some TV series also talk about this. So at the beginning you want to create something to help you for some purpose, but in the end you can't actually control which direction it's grow, and they actually kill you. So it's like cancer.
Can be. So it actually was a story this morning in Swedish news morning show about killer robots, for example, and drones, etc., and things like that. So that's certainly one possible narrow AI, I would claim, dangerous direction that could happen rather soon. Do you see that as the only way, or I guess that could be a positive future as well?
Yep.
Or can you see, imagining that AI becomes super intelligent, much more than humans? Do you still think there could be a positive future for the humans at that point?
If we can make, if we can make a machine have empathy, then we can have the chance to live together. But if we can only build the machine, no optimization, then normally we will extinct.
You think so? No. What's the most likely scenario, you think? That we have a negative or a positive future when we have
I don't know. I'm not a fiction teller, so I think anything possible. No, I just want to live every day and enjoy every day. Don't think too much.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry for disappointing you.
No, it's a hard question. I'm an optimist for sure.
Yeah, what do you think?
We said this a number of times. I think, as you become increasingly intelligent, you also, I would argue, become increasingly civilized. We can see that from the early days, thousands of years ago, when humans were, more or less living by the laws of the jungle, to over the years becoming increasingly benign and empathetic and civilized. So if you think that is because you have increased knowledge and increased intelligence, then you could make the argument that if someone has even higher intelligence than the human has, they should be even more civilized. And that could be a scenario that potentially AI of the future could be super benign and super civilized, and we don't go around killing squirrels. We don't go around killing ants. Why should we think that an AI would be interested in killing us?
No, then it's just unknown, I would say. Yeah, I agree with you that perspective, but I still have that hypothesis. It's not more intelligent equal to more empathy. They're also in this sort of cycle. If they can make the whole species always grow, then they will survive longer. So if empathy actually hinder this trend, then maybe empathy, the higher intelligent species will not have empathy. Maybe. I don't know.
Could be. Okay, let me ask you more real-time kind of question then.
Yeah.
We are currently working on a lot of new regulation EU about AI. I'm not sure if you heard about the new AI Act and everything that's going on right now. But it's going to be increased regulation surrounding AI, and that could influence H&M on rather short term as well in what you can use AI for. Do you think that new type of regulation, have you read about that, the high risk kind of AI regulation thing?
Yeah. We have a department about the AI ethic. So we have department about that.
Yeah.
Personally, I know little about it.
Yeah. But do you think there is a need for that type of regulation, or will it hurt H&M, you think, in the future?
No, as you said, if we want to be more civilized, that is the necessary thing to guarantee or regulate. It will hurt, but when you grow, you always get hurt.
But if other countries like China or US are not having the same type of regulation, do you think H&M could be hurt by that? Because
What do you mean?
let's say a big company in US or China is not having the same type of regulation that we have in EU, and then potentially can make bigger use of data and AI than we can, and that would lead them to have higher profits and produce better clothes and predict fashion in a better way and create a better user experience. Could that potentially be dangerous for H&M?
Yes or no, it depends on how we educate our customer to prioritize what is important to them. So this still is an sort of buying market. So, for example, in Sweden, more and more people become vegan. More and more people eat eco product.
Vegetarian and whatnot.
Yeah. So what I mean is, this is not the best value or economic value for the people, but they think about something else. Either their children, next generation, Earth, or identity. So it's really depend on the priority.
So the interesting idea could be, we think it's important to do it to have, as you have, high empathy or benign AI. We need to go in that direction early, not to lose the battle before it even started. Now, from a fashion point of view, we could argue that that will be very negative for the companies that are restricted then, because someone else is jumping ahead. But the summary is that, well...
That's why we need the government to regulate, right?
Yeah, we need that. But the problem is that we're regulating in one part of the world and we do it differently in another part of the world. But if the customer is choosing, he's deciding with his money what he believes in, eco, sometimes that could flip its ugly head on the greedy companies. I mean, if you have a trust in a civilized society, in the end you could have then trust in the consumer to, if they're educated, and we are now lobbying, and this is about education again. I would stop buying that product, actually. I would really stop buying it if I felt it was not really helpful. But it's a big question.
Yeah, if it's not helpful, for sure. But yeah, is AI as a technology by design malevolent? I think that's a big question that we need to think about.
No, the problem becomes back to the whole regulation, right? Should we regulate the tech or the application?
Yeah,
Bottom line, right?
That's the core question.
You understand? The tech itself or what its intended use is. I don't care what the type of neural network it is, but have you used it in a killer drone or have you used it to, recommend beautiful music? Same transformer. Should I regulate the transformer or should I regulate the use?
I think another analogy, if we just try to regulate technology instead of the effect that something has, it's really dangerous. It's like, if you have a hammer and I hit that on the head of Henrik, which can be something I think about sometimes. No.
Yeah. No. I need to write to AO to ban hammers.
But then the question is, what should you do about that? Should you regulate not being allowed to produce hammers, or should you regulate not being allowed to hit someone on the head?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Hammer is dead thing, but the human is
It's
living.
just a technology to use that.
Yes.
But it's the effect of using a technology in a certain way that should be regulated, I would argue.
Yep. Yeah.
Not the technology itself. Yeah, okay.
I agree.
This is a bit sensitive topic for me, so I could speak about this for a long time.
But I think it requires deep knowledge. Actually, it's a quite simple principle, but it's you go very quickly down a rabbit hole when you start regulating tech.
Yeah, it's very dangerous, I think.
And maybe one thing.
Yeah, no.
One thing is if you the person hit Hendrik have some brain disease, and then they still, from law perspective, they are just behave like normal animals, so they still, it's not educatable. So I would say it's really have a line there. It's really hard to distinguish.
It is. And AI can be abused, of course, like killer drones, of course, is something. But then it's the effect of them. You shouldn't allow to use AI to kill people. That's very simple.
Yeah. So then, once again, AI in this application is not allowed.
Yeah.
In this application.
Right.
Good. I think we leave that.
Yeah. Awesome. It's been a pleasure to have you here, of course, Cecilia. And let's. Should we end with the normal thing, or do you have anything else to bring on? Yeah, let's end with the last.
I think we always ask the same two favorite questions. We love those questions. So just to end up on a positive note, what is happening next in your life? What are you looking forward to in the next couple of months or year or right now? Something exciting, something fun.
Christmas,
yes.
That's awesome. You like Christmas?
Yeah.
What about snow, as we saw today? You like that?
I like snow,
really?
But when it's just snowing, not melting.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The slush is not so. The snow is nice. Yeah. And anything exciting happening in 2022? Something you're working on or something you're planning to do?
That's a secret.
After work topic.
Awesome. Cool. Anyone that you would recommend to have on this podcast that you would like to listen to potentially?
Yes, my boss, Björn, has day.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Yeah.
Awesome. Why is that, by the way?
He has a great knowledge about how to build up an data scientist organization. I think, from my perspective, I'm a little bit like too hands-on. So my focus is still product, but for Björn is already up to the system level to how to plan for the future and how to plan for this society grow. And also he has intensive experience from NASDAQ, from financial institute. And he know which point is good to control for what product. Yeah. So what question to ask. Right. And also his leadership, I would say, the same with RT and Arrow. Yeah. It's really beneficial for H&M.
Awesome. With that, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a true pleasure, and we could continue speaking about fashion prediction, I think, much more. I would be very eager to do that, but it's been really fun. So thank you very much, Celine Xu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Celine.
Thank you.